was late that Sunday evening, and the disciples were gathered together behind locked doors because they were afraid of the Jewish authorities. Then Jesus came and stood among them.
Peace be with you.
After saying this, he showed them his hands and his side. The disciples were filled with joy at seeing the Lord. Jesus said to them again,
Peace be with you. As the Father sent me, so I send you.
Then he breathed on them.
Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive people's sins, they are forgiven. If you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven.
One of the 12 disciples, Thomas, called the twin, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, We have seen the Lord.
Unless I see the scars of the nails in his hands, and put my finger on those scars, and my hand in his side, I will not believe.
A week later, the disciples were together again indoors, and Thomas was with them. The doors were locked, but Jesus came and stood among them.
Peace be with you. Put your finger here and look at my hands. Then reach out your hand and put it in my side. Stop your doubting and believe.
My Lord and my God.
Do you believe because you see me? How happy are those who believe without seeing me?
In his disciples' presence, Jesus performed many other miracles which are not written down in this book. But these have been written in order that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that through your faith in him you may have life.
Robert M. Persig wrote in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance the following: You are never dedicated to something you have complete confidence in. No one is fanatically shouting the sun is going to rise tomorrow. They know it's going to rise tomorrow. When people are fanatically dedicated to political or religious faiths or any other kinds of dogmas or goals, it's always because these dogmas or goals are in doubt. To which Jan Martel replied in Life of Pi, if Christ spent an anguished night in prayer, if he burst out from the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? Then surely we are also permitted doubt. But we must move on. To choose doubt as a philosophy of life is akin to choosing immobility as a means of transportation. We live in a sea of doubt. Did it really happen? That's the question of the 21st century. Did it really happen? We want to believe in the power of the fact. Somehow, fact is better. Probably because everything else is a lie. We hear credulous, pseudo-scientific silliness on television, ghost hunters and UFO sightings and whatever. And even if we want to believe it, we want to act on it as if it's true, we know deep down that it's all phony. And Thomas wanted it to be true. He's like all the others, lost and hopeless, a ship without keel or rudder, adrift with no motive power, the power of doubt. But unlike the others, Thomas couldn't stand to be with anyone in his grief. We all handle grief differently. That's okay to be alone, but by being alone, Thomas missed the resurrection. As far as he knew, the facts on which he acted on are told to him that Jesus was dead, gone, kaput. Now, this may be a small thing, but consider. In the world, according to Thomas, Jesus is dead, while at the very same time, the world of the people of the upper room, Jesus was alive. It's a tiny bit of information that makes all the difference in the world to those who have it. Some friends up in Sterling would have children, young people from Japan come and learn what farming in the middle of America is all about. And the fellow who was their counselor, their advisor, stood out there in the field one day and he said, "If we had only known." And they said, "Known what?" And he just waved his arm. "If we had only known all of this, the sheer vastness of this country, would we have attacked Pearl Harbor?" You see, a tiny bit of information directly affected the Japanese Empire. A little bit of information makes all the difference in the world. The in-between time, when Thomas didn't know and the other disciples did. What a moment of chaos and uncertainty and tension. After the tornado in Holly, we heard stories about a couple who lived a few houses down from us. All kinds of stories. One was that they were both in the hospital in Lamar. One was in the hospital and one was at a friend's. Another one was one of them was in a hospital and the other one was dead. All these stories, all combinations were floating around until we finally got the word from their daughter that she had taken them and they were in La Junta and living there just fine, thank you. Beat up, but not dead, not in the hospital. And it occurred to me that this was just like Schrodinger's cat. Anybody know what Schrodinger's cat's all about? Good, I'll tell you. Schrodinger was trying to explain how things could be two things at once when we don't know. And so he did this mind experiment. No cats were harmed in the experiment. He said, take a cat, you put it in a box, and you develop a way with a Geiger counter and a decaying atom that decays, half of it decays in 1 hour. So sometimes in that hour there will be a radioactive particle. The Geiger counter will detect it. It will set off a hammer that will break a vial of poison. And the cat, after that hour, is dead and alive at the same time. Until you open the box. And then you find out. That's the way it is with rumors during some kind of chaotic thing like a tornado or an attack on an embassy. You hear all kinds of stories until you actually open the box and see how it is. You don't know. And both are true in a way at the same time. This is what was going on for Thomas and the other disciples. That in-between time. Did it really happen? Yes? No? All we know for this story is that Thomas, also called the twin, missed the experience of the resurrection. Moreover, even 11 witnesses, not counting the women, even with 11 witnesses, they could not convince him. He wanted to know it for sure. He was the world's first practical person. And he's afraid that it might be a practical joke. Can you imagine? As soon as he accepted the fact that they were saying he was alive, they say, "Ha ha, fooled you." That wouldn't be fun. No, he wanted to actually lift the lid and look in the box. He wanted witnesses with his own hands, physically, practically. Like a good Missourian, he said, "Show me." Good old doubting Thomas. A week later, 8 days, John wrote, and remember, 8 days is when a baby boy is taken to the temple or the synagogue and blessed and circumcised. That's a clue there, what John is talking about. 8 days later, it happened again. It really did happen. Jesus was real as rain, offering the holes in his holy hand to Thomas. "Go ahead, Tom. Touch it. Feel it. Open the box. Here is the truth wrapped in fact." For Thomas, it really did happen. We might still ask, in our own uncertainty, did it really happen? Factually happen? Empirically happen? The answer is this. It happened for Thomas, but that's not the point. The question is, has it happened for you? Has the presence and reality of Jesus Christ become the rising sun of your life? The warmth of the day in the midst of the winds of probability, the center, the cornerstone, the anchor. Has Jesus, the risen one, become the keel and rudder of your life? Jesus was glad that Thomas accepted, saw, and believed. But he knew that, in a way, Thomas missed the point. Thomas wanted to see in order to believe. Is it real? Is it factual? But faith is not fact. Hope is not about seeing, but knowing beyond the mere shadows of the physical world. St. Augustine of Hippo put it this way: "Therefore, do not seek to understand in order to believe, but believe that you might understand." Doubt is a good thing. Some people are under the impression that if they had Christ, doubt would disappear, like the dew in the sun. But doubt is greater than dew. Doubt is the rain that sometimes brings flood and cuts gullies and canyons, but mostly soaks the ground and gives life to growing things. One youth put it this way: doubt is the ants in the pants of faith. If we are really careful to take the time to dig in our doubt, maybe even wallow in the mud it creates, we find a new light, a new clearness, a new hope that goes beyond all the hopes we fear losing. Doubt is the design, but it's not the purpose. One more analogy. We have been building railroads in America since 1830. Many people have worked on improving engines, brakes, cars, tracks, signals, and everything else about the business. But if management begins to think that these things are what railroading is all about, they are in for a great loss. Because the purpose of the railroads is to get people from one place to another, to get stuff from one place to another. The destination is the reason for railroads. Doubt is the beginning of faith. Think back on your own faith journey. And when you made that leap, it was doubt is the beginning of belief. Belief is the reason for doubt. Doubt keeps belief alive and adaptive to our needs and the world around us. Faith is not a thing, but it's not a static thing. Faith is alive in the Spirit that gives it to us. We don't realize we need it until we doubt. And then believing is seeing.